Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the NFL slate on DraftKings for Week 3. I did make a sort of a new format for my videos. I took the time to make a PowerPoint. It took me about 2 or 3 hours to make, so it was a lot of time invested. Hopefully this will make my videos more enjoyable to watch. It'll give you something to look at while you listen to me talk rather than just listen to me talk. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy the new format. Give me some feedback. Make sure you drop a like on this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure you click that subscribe button, click the notification bell as well, so that way you'll always get notified when I upload. Feel free to let me know down in the comments some of your favorite plays for this Week 3 slate. Also, I want to let you guys know that I will be making a video going over Yahoo's pricing and some of my favorite plays on Yahoo. So if you guys are playing over there, I know they're running another big tournament for Sunday. I think it's a 500K tournament this week. If you guys are playing on Yahoo, I will have a separate video out going over some of my favorite plays on Yahoo. But let's just go ahead and get started. Start off with quarterback. There's a lot of viable options for cheap, and one of my favorite options is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's only $5,900 on DraftKings. Very favorable matchup here, playing at home against the Bengals. This Bengals team defensively just has not been good this year. They allowed 41 points to the 49ers in their last game. I think they allowed like 26 points to the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson threw for like at least 2 or 3 touchdowns against the Bengals. It's just not a good defense. Josh Allen's a high upside quarterback. He can throw the ball deep. He's got guys he can throw deep to now. He's got John Brown that he can go to. He gives you rushing upside. He'll run probably 6, 7, 8 times in this game. We've seen Josh Allen run for 100-plus yards multiple times last year, so high floor, high ceiling combo. Josh Allen will probably be the quarterback that I go to in cash games. It's either going to be between him or Jameis Winston, but in tournaments I'm going to have a ton of exposure to Josh Allen. One of my favorite plays at quarterback this week, and definitely going to be a guy that I'm overweight on. But now moving on to running back. A couple running backs I want to hit on. First guy I really like is Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke, just a great spot here playing at home against the Dolphins. We've seen so far this year how bad this Dolphins defense is. They just can't stop anybody. They got beat 43-0 against the Patriots. They got crushed in their Week 1 game. Honestly, can't even remember who they played in Week 1, but I know there was guys like asking to be traded after that game. Just this Dolphins team is going to be a team that tanks. They don't want to win games. Great spot for the Cowboys. Great spot for Zeke. Right now the Cowboys are 21-point home favorites. So this game just has feed Zeke written all over it. He should get handed the ball as much as possible. He's seen his workload increase too. In Week 1, he only got 13 or 14 touches. 14 touches in Week 1, but in Week 2, the game after, he got 25 touches. So he's seeing his workload increase. With them most likely playing from ahead in this game, they're going to be handing the ball off to Zeke a ton. I'd be very surprised if he gets less than 30 touches. This just feels like an easy game for Zeke to go 100-plus yards and get into the end zone at least a couple times. So love Ezekiel Elliott here. I guess the only concern is that if the Cowboys just whoop on the Dolphins, and if they're up like 35-0 at halftime, do they pull the starters? I don't know, honestly, but I'm rolling with Zeke either way. He's my favorite high-price running back on the week. But now a cheaper running back that I really like is Marlin Mack. He's only $5,800 on DraftKings, playing at home against the Falcons. This is a very favorable spot for Mack. This is a very favorable spot for running backs in general. Running backs against the Falcons, that's a matchup we're going to be targeting all year. The Falcons allowed the most receptions to running backs last year. I don't expect anything to change here. Mack's a workhorse back. He gets a ton of carries. He's involved in the passing game as well. We saw last year Nyheim Hines was kind of their pass down back. He was getting a lot of the work on third down situations, but they've been keeping Mack in there. I know he got like 20-plus carries in Weeks 1 and 2. I know he's been getting targets as well. He makes for a great flex play, so if you want to pay up for 2 of the expensive running backs, like if you want to go Barkley and Zeke and then play Mack as your flex, I could totally see doing that. Or if you want to go to like Zeke and Dalvin Cook and then playing Mack, I think that makes a lot of sense. I really like Marlon Mack here, especially given the DraftKings price of just $5,800. That makes him a very appealing play for me. But now moving on to receiver. A couple receiver plays I really like. The first one is Antonio Brown. So he's only $7,100 on DraftKings. That just feels way too cheap for Antonio Brown. In in his first game with the Patriots, he didn't play a lot of snaps, but he saw an insane target share. I believe it was around 33% target share. which is just insane. Even playing with Julian Edelman and with Josh Gordon, whenever Antonio Brown was on the field, Tom Brady was looking his way. I believe he got like 8 targets in the limited amount of time that he was on the field. And as he gets more playing time in, you would only imagine that his workload is going to increase, that he's going to be on the field even more. Obviously, this game has a lot of blowout potential, like at home against the Jets. The Patriots could be up 35-0 at halftime. But if they are up 35-0 at halftime, there's a good chance Antonio Brown, Tom Brady are contributing to that 35-0 score. So I really like Antonio Brown here. He's one of my favorite GPP plays. Really don't know why he's still this cheap. Just a way too cheap of a price tag for a guy that has the talent level of Antonio Brown. I'm going to have plenty of Tom Brady, Antonio Brown stacks in GPPs. Definitely want to be overweight on Antonio Brown. Don't think I'm going to be going to him in cash games because it's too risky. You just don't know if he's going to see enough snaps to be like a cash game viable play. But for GPPs, he just has so much upside that even if he does play limited snaps, he could still go for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. So at wide receiver, one of my favorite spin-ups is Antonio Brown at 7,100. But now moving on to a couple cheap receivers I like. First off, Larry Fitzgerald, very cheap, only 5,100 on DraftKings. Finally has him a good quarterback, so this dude finally is going to be able to play. He's been a great receiver these past few years, just really hasn't had a good quarterback. But now that Kyler Murray is on the Cardinals, Kyler Murray can throw the ball deep. He can get these guys the ball when they're open. This is definitely a game I want to target on both sides. Arizona and the Panthers are 2 teams that are running some of the most offensive plays per game this year. I believe Carolina's first and then Arizona is second. These are 2 teams that play pretty fast. We know Arizona is going to be a team that plays very fast, goes no huddle. Really like Larry Fitzgerald here. Price tag's just way too cheap. 24 targets through 2 games. Still only 5,100 on DraftKings. I believe he's got like double-digit DraftKings points in both games. Really like Larry Fitzgerald. I'm for sure going to have some Kyler Murray, Larry Fitzgerald stacks this week. In cash games, I think Larry Fitzgerald is viable because he's going to see probably double-digit targets and he's only 5,100. So he is a very good value receiver if you are looking for a cheap option at that position. And another value receiver that I really like on DraftKings under 5K, Emmanuel Sanders. He's only 4,800. This is another guy that's just seen too cheap of a price tag for at least the last 2 weeks. He was very cheap on week 1, and that Monday night game against the Raiders had a really good game. In week 2, he had a really good game as well. I believe he was able to find the end zone. I can't remember if he got into the end zone week 2, but I know he had like double-digit targets. He's been clearly the guy that Joe Flacco wants to go to. 20 targets through 2 games. Another guy, like I said, where the price tag's just too cheap for the production, for the volume he's seeing. And I'm not concerned at all with this Green Bay secondary. Right now, I believe that Denver is 8-point underdogs, so they are for sure going to have to throw in this game if they want to keep up. We know Aaron Rodgers is going to put points on the board. So I really like Emmanuel Sanders. Definitely in play for cash games because of the price tag and the target he should see. And even for tournaments, like as a one-off, I don't think I'm going to be stacking him with Joe Flacco, but I could see going to Emmanuel Sanders just as a cheap one-off receiver. Only 4,800, going to see double-digit targets. Really like him as a value. And then lastly, a receiver, the value play, very cheap value play that I really like. Expect him to be popular, but Nelson Agholor, only 3,600 on DraftKings. Assuming Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey both don't play, both are looking doubtful right now. I'm recording this on Wednesday, and right now it looks like both are going to wind up sitting. That makes Agholor a great value play. He got 11 targets in the Sunday night game last week when both guys got injured. He's clearly going to be the number 1 receiver. Him and Zach Ertz are going to see the looks for Carson Wentz. Wentz is going to be looking to those 2 guys. And like I said, the projected volume for this salary just makes him a great cash play. Easily going to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. I could see fading him in GPPs, or not fully fading him, but being underweight. But I still want to have some exposure. Not sure if I'm going to be overweight on him. Depends on what his ownership is. Like if he's going to be like 30-40% owned in GPPs, I could see being under that number. But I still want to have some exposure because this guy has a lot of upside, especially when he gets the targets. He can go deep, gives you that big playability for GPPs. Nelson Agholor, one of the top value receivers right now on the slate, assuming Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey do not play. Before we move on to tight end, I do want to give a quarterback and receiver stack that I really like this week. That's going to be Jameis Winston to Mike Evans. This is definitely one of my favorite quarterback receiver stacks on DraftKings. Love the matchup here playing at home against the Giants. The Giants team just not very good defensively, very bad secondary. Very plus spot for Jameis Winston. I know he's been terrible this year, but I'm not really buying into it. I think Winston's going to be a good quarterback, especially for fantasy. I expect this Bucs team to have to throw a lot this year. They're not a team that's going to run the ball much. They don't have much of a running game to begin with. And both of these guys are just too cheap for the floor-ceiling combo they give you. Both guys give you high floors at this price tag. They both give you great ceiling as well. I expect bounce-back game from both of these guys, and I definitely want to be overweight. I know Chris Godwin's kind of emerged as the number one for Jameis Winston, and just in terms of production, Chris Godwin's been a lot more productive so far than Mike Evans has, but I still want to go to Mike Evans here, especially because looking at his game log and looking at Chris Godwin's game log, people will probably go to Godwin over Evans. But Evans is the guy that I want. I assume he'll be lower owned. I'll probably have stacks where I go Winston Godwin, but Winston Evans is definitely my favorite quarterback receiver stack on DraftKings for tournaments. Then you can run it back on the other side with like Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram. Both of those guys I think are viable plays this week. But now moving on to tight end. A tight end play that I really like this week. Probably going to be one of the more popular options, but I fully understand it. Zach Ertz, only 5,700 on DraftKings. Just like you would expect Nelson Agholor to get a lot more targets, with Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey unlikely to play, same could be said for Zach Ertz. He saw 16 targets in the Sunday night game when both of those guys went down. I expect Ertz to see massive volume here, a heavy workload. Clearly the number one tight end for me, especially when you factor in his salary compared to guys like Travis Kelce. I believe Kelsey's like 7,200. Ertz for 1,500 less. Probably will see even more targets than Kelce. I have a lot of interest in if D-Jackson, or if DraftKings had adjusted the pricing for D-Jackson and Alshon being hurt, Zach Ertz would probably be around 7K. The price tag's just not caught up to what he projects for in this game. So really like Zach Ertz, one of my favorite tight end plays on DraftKings. Usually not a position I pay down or I pay up at, but there's some good options at the top this week. It's pretty easy to get Ertz in. He's definitely going to be probably where I go to in cash games because we do have a lot of value with Nelson Agholor at 3,600. There's a lot of good value receiver this week. I'll definitely be paying up at tight end for Zach Ertz, my favorite play at this position. And then we'll talk about a couple defenses real quick before we end the video. So two defenses I really like are the Vikings and the Seahawks. We all know at the top of the defense position you have the Cowboys and you have the Patriots, who are both in great spots. Cowboys playing at home against a terrible Dolphins team. Patriots playing at home against a really bad Jets team, a team that's on their third-string quarterback right now. But defense is usually never a position I try to pay up for or play a defense that's going to be chalky. I don't expect either of these two defenses to be that popular. It's just too hard of a position to predict. Even the top projected defenses could go for negative points. It's just a really hard position to predict. I don't expect the defense to score 30-plus points like we saw last week with the Patriots defense. Just don't see that happening. So I like going a little bit cheaper here. Vikings playing at home against a really bad Raiders team. Raiders team that doesn't project to be that well offensively. Vikings are heavy home favorites, so the Raiders should have to throw in this game, which is good for a defense. That allows opportunity to get sacks. That allows opportunity to get interceptions. Really like going to the Vikings D, and then the Seahawks, another team playing at home, but they will be facing a backup quarterback. With Drew Brees out for this game, Teddy Bridgewater will be starting for the Saints, and that's a plus matchup for the Seahawks, getting to face a backup quarterback at home. So choosing between these two defenses is probably where I'm going to be going for cash games. Obviously, if I can get up to like the Cowboys or the Patriots D in cash, I'll try to, but I feel like those savings are going to be pretty crucial this week. So I like going to the Vikings and Seahawks as a bit lower owned. But that is pretty much it, guys. Just went over a couple of my favorite plays at each position. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this new format on the videos. Give me some feedback. I always do appreciate that. Before you get out of here, make sure you click that subscribe button. Click the notification bell so that way you'll get notified every time I upload. Drop a like if you enjoyed. And good luck this week, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.